So to get this started?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So we are here in New Vrindavan, West Virginia, and we are here with His Holiness Varsana Maharaj, who has been here probably 40 plus years, I believe. 44, yes. Srila Prabhupada, as many devotees know, had a desire for 7 temples to be built here in New Vrindavan. And we see a temple structure coming up here. Maybe you can explain a little bit about Prabhupada's vision for New Vrindavan and what you are endeavoring to do here to help fulfill Srila Prabhupada's vision.
Srila Prabhupada revealed his vision for New Vrindavan in Montreal in 1968 when Hayagriva and Kirtanananda Maharaj informed him of the possibility of acquiring some land here. And hearing the description of the land, Srila Prabhupada immediately mentally moved in. He began giving instructions and the name. He said, the community should be named New Vrindavan. And he gave 2 primary mandates: agriculture and cow protection on the practical terrestrial level. And the spiritual counterpart to that, he said, name the high places Govardhan. If there are lakes, name them Radhakund, Shamakund, and create a replica of Vrindavan with the 7 major temples. So then, the next year, Srila Prabhupada visited, and he reiterated those instructions. And then, by 1972, he was pleased with the agriculture and cow protection, but he was becoming very impatient about the temples. And he said, begin immediately with whatever materials you have available to construct these 7 temples of Vrindavan. And every time he mentioned them, he named them.
Right.
And he said, later you can embellish them with finer detail. So we actually began in 1973, simultaneous to the installation of Anantasheshan, the cornerstone of Srila Prabhupada's palace, was the installation of the cornerstone for Radha Govinda Mandir, which never was completed. We never even finished the footer.
Where was that installation?
Bahulaban.
Oh, okay.
And actually that was the main cornerstone ceremony because that was Srila Prabhupada's instructions to build the 7 temples on the 7 hills. But while we were excavating the footer and preparing the plans and site for the construction of that temple, we were plagued with the idea that we need to build a proper residence for Srila Prabhupada. So therefore, the 2 began simultaneously, the first of the 7 temples and Srila Prabhupada's palace. The resources were so limited in those days that the palace took all our resources and manpower. So the first of the 7 temples lay waiting for decades. And then with the plan for another temple, that cornerstone was moved to another hill, to a temple that also never even really began. So I brought the cornerstone here and placed it for the 3rd time.
Okay.
And began the construction. And this site was chosen partially because the Srila Prabhupada's palace was successful beyond our dreams, but also in a different way than we had anticipated, because it was meant to be his living quarters. But it became apparent as his final terrestrial lila approached, that it wouldn't be done in time for his living quarters. But we couldn't stop, because that was our offering of love to him, which means that his vapu is enshrined there, both in his murti form and his remembrance and his potency. And the palace was also visited twice by Srila Prabhupada, where he gave specific instructions on how he wanted it to be completed. Since the palace enshrines Srila Prabhupada's vapu, it seemed necessary that there be another structure to enshrine his vani, ideally within a clear line of sight with each other.
How far? Actually, it's right here, right?
Right there.
Yeah.
So from each structure you can see the other.
The deities will be facing the palace.
Yes. Furthermore, Srila Prabhupada says there were no lakes when we came here. So the first kunds excavated were Shama Kund and Radha Kund here, adjacent to the palace, which was the beginning of revealing his vani adjacent to the palace grounds. And this temple is meant to be the testimony to Srila Prabhupada's heart. Because when a pure devotee of Vrindavan, the empowered Acharya, establishes a temple, he's really opening his heart to the world. So this is our final contribution to the palace complex, that his vani be enshrined right adjacent to his vapu in the palace, along with Radhakund and Shanakund, which are the base of Govardhan Hill, which continues from here, and is the very emblem of his vision for self-sufficiency.
When was this building, temple construction started?
This was begun about 5 years ago.
5 years back.
2011, I believe.
And the deities are already here, of course.
The deities wander from different lila stalis, living sometimes in a cave, literally, sometimes in this gazebo, and sometimes in the first devotee-built building in Vrindavan, which is this cabin. But they haven't had a permanent residence since the day they came, so it's also, this temple is also meant to give them a permanent residence. We would have begun with Madan Mohan Mandir and gone in sequence Sambandha, Abhidaya, Prayojana, but since the only site we had actual say over was Radhakund, and because Radha Gopinath were already here, we had to start with that temple.
You had some devotees involved in helping the temple. What are some of the things needed for this temple to be complete?
What's needed at this point is a stucco team.
Stuck with him, yeah.
To finish stuccoing the dome.
The dome.
Which will be several layers of stucco. The first one structural and the final one artistic.
And that will complete the exterior. I suppose interior, still some work, quite a bit of work done.
Interior, there's nothing done as of yet.
And besides, so if devotees wanted to help, how they could help to get this temple?
With their labor, or the fruit of their labor, or any skills they have which would be applicable to such a project?
Now, of course, because it's close to winter, you're mentioning that construction will be, I guess, temporarily stopped until when it will start?
April.
In April, 2017. Just as a last comment, possibly you were mentioning these two, isn't it, goals or visions that Prabhupada had for New Vrindavan in terms of agriculture, self-sufficiency, and then temple. Well, the 7 temples have taken some time. Any comment regarding, let's say, this other aspect of self-sufficiency that Prabhupada spoke about?
The cow protection is going well.
Okay.
Agriculture needs to come back to what it was. And of course, in all these parallel mandates, terrestrial and spiritual, he always maintained that the purpose of all of this is to increase our love for Krishna. The agriculture needs to produce more. There is some production now. We're not living off the land as we used to.
I guess in the early days that was more a reality.
It was. In the early days, we farmed all these fields, including the very steep hillsides, because of animal power. We were able to cultivate even steep areas through contour strips.
Right.
And really, every acre of New Vrindavan was used in some form of agriculture, including the forest, which is the firewood and the maple syrup and the timber.
Right.
And it was all used.
Right.
But that was a different population than we have now, so we need to re-educate mankind how to get back to nature and the basics.
Right. So you remain hopeful that Prabhupada's dream and desire will one day come to full bloom?
We always see that Srila Prabhupada's desires and prayers and visions are so pure and magnanimous that Sri Krishna takes it upon himself to fulfill them. When and where and how that may be may not be for us to know. But we are more than hopeful that his vision will definitely be fulfilled. More than hopeful, confident.
Thank you very much, Mara.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.